and you may call your next witness.
Call Major Pat Cicero.
Witness sworn.
Would you state your name, sir?
My name is Patrick G. Cicero, CRO.
And where are you employed?
I'm employed with the LaPorte County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been there?
I've been there for a little over 24 years, sir.
What's your rank?
Current rank is a major, and I'm with the administration.
And have you, in your career with the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department, worked investigations?
Yes. Prior to being promoted to the rank of major, I was a detective in our bureau as a chief of detectives for over 20 years.
You were the chief of detectives for the LaPorte County Department?
Yes, sir.
And do you have any specialized areas in crime scene investigation?
Yes. I specialize in bloodstain pattern analysis, crime SC&E reconstruction, forensic entomology for the practitioner, as far as collections and investigative approach, as well as just overall crime scene investigation, sir.
Do you have any certifications in that field?
Yes. I am certified in the state of Indiana as a crime scene investigator. I'm also on the certification board for the state of Indiana, setting standards and making sure that investigators are certified throughout the state.
And therefore, I assume you've been to specialized schools in blood stain pattern analysis.
Yes. Over my 20-plus years in the Detective Bureau, I attended numerous courses, basic, advanced courses in crime scene reconstruction where blood stain patterns and analysis is incorporated with that individual courses.
And are those courses that require you to pass tests and to show your proficiency?
Yes.
They're not just attending a conference.
No, but I have attended conferences as well.
Do you do training? Do you teach blood stain pattern analysis and crime scene reconstruction training?
Yes. I teach at the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy for crime scene investigators. I've taught at Rensselaer College as the basic and advanced courses. I'm slated to teach at the National Forensic Academy. I teach at the Forensic Academy already for the last 18 years in forensic entomology, but I'm slated to, this October, to go back for blood stain pattern analysis as well.
What is that academy that you're talking about?
The National Forensic Academy is in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. It's through the University of Tennessee. It's a 10-week intensive course at the university, and we teach investigators throughout the county.
How long have you been involved in blood stain pattern analysis investigation?
Approximately 20 years, sir.
You've testified as an expert before in that area?
Yes. I believe this would be the 31st or 32nd time.
Only in LaPorte County?
No.
Aside from today?
No, sir. I've testified in Lawrence County. I've testified in Lake Porter counties. I believe I testified in Jasper County as well.
It's late and we're all a little tired, but would you give us a brief explanation of what blood stain pattern interpretation is?
Sure. Blood stain pattern analysis is a field of study which relies on the fact that blood is a fluid and, as such, it adheres to our physical laws. Therefore, it is repeatable. Bloodstains are repeatable, they're testable, they're measurable. An analyst examines the blood stains within a pattern, specifically looking at the size, shape, the location in the scene, the distribution, the volume of blood. Ultimately, the goal is to determine the origins that gave RE-SE to the bloodstains.
Were you asked to assist the prosecution in this prosecution of the murders of AW and LG?
Yes, I was, sir.
And when were you asked?
February 12, 2024.
And you and I first had a conversation about that time, is that correct?
Round about that time, I believe so, sir.
What materials did you examine to prepare to give an opinion and to provide analysis on blood stain patterns in the crime scene?
I received electronic files of many individual files of photographs from I believe 5 or 6 different officers, investigators. I received lab reports. I received the post-mortem exam reports, diagrams associated with the case.
Showing you 8 photographs. I'm going to ask if you recognize these and if these would be photographs that you relied upon in your examination. There.
Yes, sir, I recognize these photographs.
And were these photographs provided to you when you requested a number of photographs in this case?
Yes.
Did you receive a lot more than these 8 photographs?
Yes, sir, many files of photographs.
And you said you reviewed both crime scene photographs, as well as photographs of the autopsies.
Yes.
And the various reports related to the crime scene and the autopsies, is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Only asking that they be kept under seal, but under that condition, I would ask that 30 through 37 be admitted into evidence. States Exhibits 30 through 37 offered.
No objection. All right. Without objection, 30 through 37 are admitted and will be marked as confidential and sealed. States Exhibits 30 through 37 admitted.
To assist the court, inaudible.
Okay.
These 2 don't have stickers on them, but they have on them handwritten numbers that correspond with the court's.
Yes, sir.
Sticker numbers, so I apologize if you have to scour to find the numbers.
Yes, sir.
Did you actually go to the scene, as well,
I did.
And were you accompanied by retired FBI agent Rich Davies?
Yes.
And did the 2 of you, were you given time there to review and see the scene yourself?
Yes, I was, sir.
And was that helpful to you in understanding the photographs and understanding the reports that you had evaluated?
Yes, it was.
And did you physically examine items of evidence?
Yes. I examined clothing.
Were these the clothing that were? What clothing did you examine?
The clothing I examined was the clothing that was discovered with AW.
I want to have you describe, and will not do it in terrific detail, but I want you to describe the blood that was documented at the crime scene as you saw it on the photographs, beginning with the blood on the tree, and as you want to look at and reflect and refer to the photographs, if you would state the number for the record as to what.
Sure.
If you want to begin by what is Exhibit 30 and what does that show us?
Exhibit 30 is kind of an overall mid-range photograph of the tree, as well as the decedents that are in the background. In the foreground, near the bottom.
And so when we refer later in the photographs to blood on a tree, that tree is pictured in Exhibit 30?
It is, sir.
It's in the foreground?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What does 31 show us?
31 shows us a more close-up photograph of the floor, the forested floor, leaf litter with blood stains on them.
And that's also, 31, is it a close-up of what's pictured in a portion of 30, of Exhibit 30?
It's not as easily viewed in 30, but I know where the general location is in the photograph. It's easily viewed on a computer due to printing quality, but it's associated with the areas that I observed in front of the tree, almost like, I believe it was like a little bit northeast of the tree.
X.
North/northeast.
Okay. Exhibit 32, what does that show us?
This is another photograph of the tree, a different angle that the photographer took. You can see the decedents in the background. It is of the tree, more on the north side of the tree, and showing blood stains upon the tree.
And the next is 33, I believe.
Yes, sir. This would be, again, the tree, a more closer shot of the tree. Its blood stains, I believe, on the more northern part of the tree, more the same.
And what is the next, 35?
This is the tree again with the scale. I'm sorry, this is 34.
I'm sorry, 34.
It's a picture of the tree with the scale. It's scaling out the blood stains, specifically the blood stain in the center, which I had described as an upside-down L shape.
Did you see references in the examination or in reviewing reports of a tree noted as with a letter F?
I did, sir.
See any reference to that in the materials you reviewed?
Yes, sir.
And we'll get to why in a moment, but does that appear to you to be a symbol F on the tree?
No, it appears like an upside-down L to me.
In terms of its configuration?
Yes.
Okay. What's the next photograph? What number is it and which?
That would be photograph 35. This would be the photograph of the F/upside-down L, without the scale, but this time the discoloration of the stain was due to an additive or a chemical reagent called crystal violet.
Have you used that chemical yourself? And what is the purpose of using that chemical?
It's to enhance the visualization of blood stains. The actual chemical will basically pigment or change the color for more easy viewing.
And is it your understanding that the crime scene officers returned in the daylight a following day and applied those chemicals to the tree and took the photograph at that time?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Did that help you to appreciate and more fully understand the configuration of the blood stain pattern on the tree?
It did. And I can understand why individual individuals would say that this looks like an F. What's missing to make it an F would be the lower horizontal bar to make it an F. There's not one there, so that's why I called it an upside-down L.
Had you note on the numerous photographs that you reviewed of the crime scene, and perhaps even your trip there yourself this spring, but did you note any reddish tint or pinkish tint to the bark on that tree at certain locations?
Yes, I did.
In some of the crime scene photographs, does that, in effect, provide a visual distortion of what is on the tree?
Yes, it could.
What's the next photograph after the chemical-applied photograph?
It would be photograph number 36.
What does 36 show us?
It shows the decedents. I believe he photographer is facing the camera.
And did we get to the end? Is there a 37?
37's the last one.
I'm sorry.
I'm on 36.
Okay. Go to 37, then.
Yes, sir.
What is that?
This is like a topographical type of photograph. I believe the investigators were on a ladder or some type, and you can clearly see again that discoloration which would be to the west of the decedents, especially west of AW, and again, the decedents laying supine on the forest floor.
Major Cicero, I'd like you to give some detail about the blood stain that you saw on the tree. Would you describe its approximate size and distribution of the blood as you saw it?
Yes, sir. On the northeastern part of the tree, where the symbol, again, I had described as an upside-down L. We'll focus on that area. The overall pattern was, I believe, like 3.4 by 7 inches approximately. The pattern consisted of several different blood stain patterns, not trace, but transfer blood stains. I observed approximately 6 individual spatters, and then more on the upper left portion of the area of the pattern. Again, transfer stains to the left of the upside-down L, of course, and the L, all consistent with transfer.
And what do you mean by transfer?
Transfer is, the definition for the terminology is a bloody object that comes in contact with another object and transferring the blood over.
And I believe the court is well aware of some of these terms, but would you distinguish for us what you mean by spatter versus the other transfer that you saw?
Spatter consists of individual droplets of blood that had energy was applied to blood to break it up, and then the target surface being the tree had impacted with the tree, and that is spatter. Usually, spatter is in the realm of 1 to 4 millimeters in size. In this case, the sizes were 1 to 3, if I remember correctly, approximately 1 to 3 millimeters in size. Also, one other additional pattern that's referred to as flow was also observed in the vertical portion of the L, the upside-down L, whereas there was a voluminous amount of blood to create flow from gravity that was after the transfer was made.
There was blood at the base of that tree or near the base of the tree?
Yes. In my analysis, I defined or identified 3 areas of blood stains. Of course, I just described the one on the northeastern portion of the tree. On more north, or basically to the right approximately 4 feet from the base of tree, I observed more transfer stains. As a matter of fact, those transfer stains OC, a couple areas of the transfer stains were quite voluminous. You can see with the darker red/darker brown application when it dried. Directly below that, those stains was another series of transfer stains approximately 2 feet, a little more than 2 feet from the base of the tree as well.
Was there a section on the ground a distance from the tree where there was a large pool of blood that was documented by photographs?
Yes. The large pool or pooling accumulation of blood was more to the south of the tree, and I believe maybe a few feet to the west of AW's foot.
Could you point to that area, the pooling, for the court and identify which photograph we're looking at?
In Exhibit 36, the pooling, Your Honor, would be right here. Indicates, in Exhibit 37, Your Honor, the pooling would be right there. Indicates.
In between the blood at the base of, near the base of the tree and the pooling, was there also documented blood in between those 2 points?
Yes. There was 2 other areas, according to the reports and the diagram, where there are 2 smaller areas of, they'd be very, when I say very small, I'd say just smaller than the large one observed at 36 and 37. That could be considered accumulations. It lacked drips or other descriptives that we use for blood, and when we look at the blood and provide with a definition, but these areas, again, were much smaller, and depending upon the surface, the soil, and the leaf litter, if there was a tile floor, smooth, non-porous, it would be large enough that it would be a smaller pooling.
Now, let's go to your analysis of the blood on the body of LG.
Okay.
Did you study those photographs and read the descriptions and reporting, but did you, yourself, study those photographs of her body?
Yes.
And you had dozens of photographs of that?
I did, yes.
Would you give just a brief overall description of where, well, let me approach it this way, beginning at, you examined the lab reports that were?
I did.
Specifically DNA?
Yes, sir.
And what did you find in terms of the scene at the tree, the base of the tree, the smaller amount away from that base, and then the large pool, whose blood was identified with those portions?
All the blood, according to the DNA reports, originated from LG.
And the only blood identified as AW's blood was right there, either on her body or very adjacent to it?
Yes.
Would you describe for the court what you can discern about the movement of LG's body from the tree to where she was found?
Yes. So observing the small accumulations, that would indicate that LG was mobile at the time the bloodshed occurred. Likewise, blood stains consistent with the transfer was observed on the bottom of her foot, indicating that she was standing at some point. So all the blood on the tree, the blood that's to the northeast of the tree, the areas, again smaller areas, 2 areas noted by the investigators, and the large pooling, all LG's blood. Likewise, the blood, LG's body was dragged through the larger accumulation, which was noted by the pictures. You can see blood from the accumulation to where her final location is, but also the transfers of blood to her, the back of her leg and her calf.
In examining the photographs of the conditions of LG's body, are you convinced she was, at some point, dragged through, pulled through that pool of blood to the final resting point near the tree where she's photographed?
Yes.
And her left arm is upraised?
Yes.
And the position of the left arm, is that consistent with someone pulling her body from the area where the pooling was, through that pool, to the point next to the tree?
Yes, it's consistent.
I want to talk for a little bit about the blood on AW's body. First, before we leave LG, is it your belief that LG was mobile, was moving, after she received at least her first initial injury?
Yes.
And you say that because of what?
Again, the small accumulations of blood that were observed at different locations within the immediate scene would indicate that she is in those positions, bleeding, for it to get onto the ground and accumulate in that fashion.
Is it also apparent that she was at least sitting, in a sitting position, at some point?
Based upon the blood stains that were observed on her right thigh, there's what is referred to as projected pattern observed on the thigh. And a projected pattern it's basically blood stains or blood under pressure that is being ejected out of the injury, in this case being her neck, which coincides with what I observed on the leg. The stains ejected on her leg and subsequent flow patterns were made flowing to the inner thigh of the leg.
And that evidence itself confirms to you that she was sitting at some point with her head above her thigh?
Yes. In order for that projection to be there, the target surface has to be present, and the most logical way for that to happen would be that the injury itself would have had to have been over the thigh. We can tell this mostly because of the flow patterns. The flow patterns went straight down the leg, so the best explanation for that particular pattern would be that she was most likely seated at the time.
Let's talk about AW for a moment. What evidence do you believe that she was not moving upon receiving her one wound? Does she not move upon receiving that wound at all?
She was in that general location the entire time. I mean, there may have been some movement, but generally, it's right where she was found where she's come to her fatal injuries.
What does the blood evidence on her body tell you?
The blood stain on her body, observed flow patterns on AW's face which were not consistent with her final resting, meaning that either her head was turned to the side at one point, maybe her body was turned at one point. The stains were limited really to the back and the clothing where saturation occurred, and saturation is where blood accumulates and soaks into absorbent material. Carpeting, clothing, and whatnot. The saturation, the sweatshirt was so saturated in blood, also went onto the forested floor, trickled to the right of her, as well, where a pooling or accumulation occurred as well.
So the most movement of her upper torso and head were from maybe, let me ask it this way, the only movement from her body that you could discern from the blood would have been a movement of her head from one side to another?
Potentially yes. Maybe her upper body was lifted up at one point to create the flows that went over her chin. Because our bodies can articulate so much, I can't, say exactly what occurred, but again, blood is a fluid. Fluids will flow towards the least resistance. And based upon the flow patterns upon her face and chin, it was consistent with some movement.
LG had a significant amount of blood on her, both hands, correct?
Yes.
Given how many violent crime scenes, let me put it this way, how many death scenes have you been to in an investigative capacity?
Hundreds, sir. I don't know, it's been 20+ years. I've been an officer for 28 years, and I've been in many death scenes.
Given the wounds to her neck, did that seem likely that she had a significant amount of blood on both hands?
Absolutely, especially the injuries and the internal portion being that both carotid arteries and the jugular vein. We're talking about LG, correct?
Yes.
Both carotid arteries and the jugular vein were compromised. There would be massive blood loss as a result of that.
What about the hands? What have you learned in your investigation about injuries to the neck and hands?
Yeah, I believe it's a natural reaction, and you're going to be putting your hands in that blood, touching portions of your body that is now being blood-soaked as well. The fact that we know that LG was mobile, blood is flowing down her shoulders, her neck, it would be very logical that she's touching those areas as well, and she had a voluminous amount of blood on her arms.
But AW did not, did she?
AW did not have any blood on her hands, nor did she have any blood on the sleeves of the sweatshirt, the dark-colored sweatshirt she was wearing.
In terms of, there's been some testimony, some documentation in this case referencing whether AW was redressed after receiving injuries. Can you tell the court what your opinion is about whether or not, in terms of the clothing she was wearing when found, a large dark sweatshirt, a tank top, the gray sports bra, the black bra, were those items on her at the time that she received her injury?
Yes.
And how can you say that?
So based upon several factors. In examining the clothing, examining the photographs, there was heavy saturation to the clothing. You could see mostly on the back and the shoulders and the neckline, and this is just the outer hoodie sweatshirt that she was wearing. In reviewing her torso, her pink sleeveless shirt, it was a gray-colored sports brassiere and a black-colored sports brassiere. I'm sorry, just a regular brassiere, that there was no blood located on any one of these things other than the neckline or the shoulders. 2. The best explanation is that she's wearing it at the time. If she was dressed after the fact, we would expect to see a lot of blood transferred to the portions of the lower portions of the shirt, the sports brassiere, and especially her abdomen as she's being dressed.
There, the sticks and limbs that were near or on the bodies, you saw the photographs showing those, correct?
Yes.
And did you, by visiting the scene and also examining photographs, observe any indication that those, a large limb near LG's body, and even the smaller sticks would assist in concealing those bodies from view?
Yes.
If someone were looking from across the creek towards the direction where the girls were found, would those sticks and that large limb assist in concealing their body from someone looking in that direction?
Objection, Your Honor. This is
It's okay.
Major Cicero, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Is an expert in blood spatter analysis. What someone may or may not have seen across the creek would be beyond his area of expertise. Mr. Luttrell.
He visited the scene, Your Honor. He looked at it from a variety of perspectives. He looked at it from the vantage point, maybe not the specific location, but from the angle of someone across the creek. He was on the crime scene side of the creek, but he looked at it from that same angle, and I believe he can give opinions. If Dr. Perlmutter can give her opinion about a crime scene, certainly Major Cicero could.
Your Honor, may I ask a preliminary question? Yes. Major Cicero, you were never at the...
That is correct, ma'am.
Your involvement didn't come into place until, I think, April of 2024?
February 2024. I was at the scene in April, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. And so you were never in a position to see what you could or couldn't see with leaves on or off the tree or anything like that, or differences in topography or anything like that in the 7 years between the time the girls were killed and the time you went to the scene?
Correct.
Your Honor, I think that this would be complete speculation. We would object. Anything else?
It's not speculation at all, but I can ask further questions that may clear up the matter.
Please do.
You observed dozens and dozens of photographs taken from various locations by the crime scene text showing, from various distances, the scene as it existed before the bodies were moved, is that right?
That is correct.
And did you see, from the benefit of those photographs and from your own visit to the scene to give it that further context, did you see any advantage or any effect to see over up or make it more difficult to see the bodies from those sticks and limbs that were present?
Yes.
Your Honor.
Oh.
I would just renew my objection. I'm sorry, Major.
That's okay. I was waiting for you.
It's his fault. Overruled. I'll give you some latitude.
Major Cicero, did you take the photographs that you've shown, plus the dozen and dozens of other photographs and the reporting by the crime scene investigators, the measurements they took, and I'm talking now specifically about the blood on the tree, and conduct an experiment yourself on testing a hypothesis about how the blood was applied to that tree?
Yes.
And this is what we'll wrap up with here. Would you describe for the court what the result of your experiment was?
Yes. The results of my experiment.
Your Honor, may I ask a preliminary question? Yes. Major Cicero, the experiment you conducted, I believe you drew some of your own blood?
Yes.
Okay. You probably didn't do it, I think one of your friends.
Yeah. We had a law enforcement phlebotomist draw my blood, so we used my blood for the experiment.
And you put it in some containers?
We had numerous vacutainers that they were, put into.
And you put your blood in the vacutainers. Was there any kind of anticoagulant or anything in those containers?
No.
No? It was just your blood.
It was just my blood. I made sure that there was no anticoagulant.
Okay. And do you know how your blood compares to the blood of LG or AW?
I do not.
In terms of coagulation or type or anything like that?
No.
Do you take any medication? Or did you when? I'm trying to be
I understand.
polite. You understand where I'm going with this?
I take supplements, and I do have medication for hypertension.
For hyper?
Hypertension.
Hypertension, okay.
And do you know how your medication for the hypertension affects the coagulability, that's a terrible word, of your, but you know what I'm saying, right? Of your blood.
It does not.
Okay. I have no other questions. Thank you.
Have you conducted experiments as a blood stain pattern analysis expert in the past?
Many.
And have you used your own blood or the blood of a colleague in order to do that experiment, those experiments?
Primarily, we use animal blood in experiments. I had used my blood before. We needed blood right away to do the experiments because of time restraints. But blood, through studies, we have shown that blood still reacts in a predictable manner, regardless of what kind of blood it is. Blood has a certain viscosity, surface tension, cohesion, and again, it adheres to our physical laws. Whether it's my blood or the blood of another, it will adhere, it will do the same. It will react the same to energy and forces applied to it.
In your opinion, was the blood on that tree painted or applied deliberately in a fashion to create a pattern or symbol, or was it a blood pattern transfer onto that tree in a non-deliberate, non-painting fashion?
Based upon my observations and the results of the experiment, the best explanation for the pattern on the tree was a result of a transfer stain, not from painting.
And what type of transfer stain and what type of action with what type of object did you find was the best explanation?
From our experiments, and I'll briefly explain the experiments. We used many different parts of a hand from a test subject, applied different pressure, applied different amounts of the volume of blood that was placed upon the hand of the test subject. We have found that the most, in comparison to the stain observed on the tree, that the test subject hand would be palm, facing the substrate or the tree, with the pinky finger in an upward position, and this area of the hand created a stain that was very consistent with what we observed on the tree at the crime scene.
You're pointing to the edge, not the edge of palm, not the heel of the hand, but the edge of the palm, and you're using your left hand, is that correct?
We use the left hand.
And in a horizontal fashion?
Yes, but it would be not the edge of the palm, it would be more of the meaty area of the palm, which left a similar result.
And how tall was the test subject that you used?
She was 5 feet, 4 inches, similar to the decedent.
Similar to LG's height, you did that intentionally?
Yes.
And did you try painting blood on the tree?
Yes, I did.
Would you describe that briefly for us?
We tried painting with fingers and a stick. Obviously, we don't know if painting was a possibility, that what was utilized to paint, but a logical conclusion is fingers or a stick. It is possible to paint such an upside-down L. We found it very difficult because it lacked the volume each and every time that we would try to apply. It would wipe it off our fingers, so you'd have to reapply several times in order to get the full pattern if this was painted.
A person trying to paint that blood on the tree would have to keep going back to the source of the blood?
Yes, some source, yes.
And did you also observe any sign, any shape of a finger when you tried using a finger that was discernible to you as you looked at it?
As it relates to the painting, when we would use a finger or 2 fingers, we could see the very edges of the fingers, the roundness of it, each and every time. As it pertains to a finger, going back to the T-re, I believe that's what you're referring to.
Yes.
It should be noted approximately 1 inch or 1.5 inches. If I remember correctly, I don't have my notes with me. To the right of the upside-down L again was another transfer stain that appeared to be a pattern.
Either using the photograph with the chemical applied or another photograph, would you point to the judge?
Yes.
What you're talking about?
Your Honor, in States Exhibit 34 and 35, the area that I'm referring to is to the right.
Is it okay if I see what he's?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mom.
Judge, is it okay if I just?
Okay.
So here's the upside-down L, ma'am, sir, and this is the stain that I'm referring to right here, ma'am. And that's 34. In 35, ma'am, I'm referring to the stain that's here that was utilized. The stain that was crystal violet was applied to. So in that stain, we did testing, as well for that particular stain, and we used digits, and we found that the portion of the thumb created a stain that was similar to what we observe in the photographs of what the investigators observed in February of 2017.
So a thumb made the most accurate duplication of that stain on the tree that you were talking about. That's just an inch or so from this L.
Yes, and it was more of kind of the edge of the thumb, the meaty part of the thumb and the edge, not direct straight on. And we replicated this several times, and it may not have been the exact size or volume. That was hard to replicate or pressure, but the shape of itself was very consistent with a certain portion of the test subject's thumb.
Would this have been consistent, the blood stain that you see in the photographs on the tree, after examining those photographs and then?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, speculation in that could have been anyone's hand. Unless he's got something from the actual body that he can compare it to, I think that's complete speculation.
He's got a DNA report, Your Honor.
Okay. Overruled.
But a DNA report, Your Honor, doesn't have measurements of LG's hand.
I understand that. Overruled.
Yes, it is consistent.
And is that the best explanation for the stain pattern that you saw on the tree that was in the upside-down L portion?
That's the best explanation, given the data and the observations I made.
And if that happened, if LG's blood came into contact with that tree and with her hand in the form that you described, and that hand was co-varied with blood, would that explain all of the blood that you saw, including the spatter and the downward flow on the L portion that you described?
Yes. The spatter, I don't believe so. That could have been caused from another action. Well, I would expect to see with the spatter if a hand that was contained a voluminous amount of blood struck the or made contact. We may see what's referred to as sensation cast off. We didn't see that. This was too. It's not by any means a great distance. It's just a few, maybe an inch away.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Ms. Auger.
So we know somehow there is a pool of blood near a tree, a large pool, right?
Near a tree?
Yes.
No.
No?
There is a smaller accumulation near the tree.
Oh.
Which pool are we referring to, ma'am? I'm sorry.
Well, there are several large pools of LG's blood, correct?
There is 3 smaller ones, accumulations, and there was one very large one.
Okay. One very large one. Now, LG's neck had several cuts, correct?
I believe there was 3.
And would you agree with me, Major Cicero, that the individual cutting LG's neck, their hand could also be covered in blood?
It's very possible, yes.
And probably likely?
Depends on his actions. It's very possible that what he does and how she faces the assailant, what her actions are, her moving away from him, the initial cut, if you will, I'm not sure which injury did that. So there's a lot of factors to automatically saying if I'm going to agree with you or not.
Okay. Now, you said his hand. Why do you say his hand?
Mistake.
Okay. Thank you.
A hand.
All right. Now, you know that someone had blood on their hand and it was transferred to the tree?
Yes, ma'am.
In a pattern?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And one of the patterns is an upside-down L, correct?
Yes.
Now, did you do any analysis of any other individual's hands?
I don't understand, ma'am. Anyone else?
Well, you picked an individual who was 5 feet 4 inches, correct?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
And that is because LG was 5 feet 4 inches?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how your subject's hand compared to that of LG's hand?
I don't, ma'am, know.
So you have no idea how similar, at all, those two hands might be?
When you say similar, what characteristics are you referring to?
In size.
Correct.
And then, you didn't, for instance, have any idea about the size of, let's say, Brad Holder's hand?
I'm not sure who that is, ma'am.
Okay. So you were just limited to your test individual, is that correct?
Yes. This experiment was merely a way to show that there's an alternate explanation other than painting.
Okay. But if I want to make a pattern of an upside-down L, I can recreate that with my hand, right?
Yes.
I can dip it in blood or, if my hand already has blood on it, and put it on a tree.
Yes.
And you have no idea how that blood was transferred to the tree other than that LG's blood was transferred to the tree?
Yes.
Now, sir, if I could, you talked about LG, and I'm looking at page 5, it's kind of the end of the first paragraph of your report.
Okay.
And you said bloodstain evidence would indicate LG would have been stationary for some time at the location of the large pooling believed to be placard 3, is that?
Yes, ma'am. That's the large accumulation pooling. Yes.
Okay. Can you show me what? I've looked and I can't find the placards. Can you show me on one of these exhibits where that pool is? Can you point that out?
Sure, ma'am. I'm going to point it out to State's Exhibit 36.
Okay. Hold on, let me get there. I see what you're saying.
And State's Exhibit 37, right here, indicates.
Of course, it's the last one I look at.
Sure.
Thank you. And you said her body was stationary for some time and then it was later moved to the vicinity of the pooling to her final location where she was discovered?
Yes.
Now, when you said later moved, that implies to me that someone else moved her.
Yes.
She didn't move herself?
No.
And in your experience, sir, have you ever had the occasion to move a dead body?
Yes.
How would you compare moving a dead body to someone who's alive? Is it more difficult?
I think it all depends if the person's. I believe it'd probably be the same if the person is alive is limp and I'm supposed to move them. Are they fighting? I don't know.
And how far do you think LG's body was moved?
Well, whatever the distance was from that pooling area to her final location, whatever that may be, perhaps it was 7, 8 feet. I'm just looking at it. I don't know context. I don't have the scale in there.
And I'm going to show, I didn't mark, I don't know which exhibit this is. Do you have that exhibit?
37.
37, okay. Can you draw on there where the track of LG's body went?
I cannot with these photographs. It's too difficult. We have to have different photographs.
Have you seen any photographs?
Oh, I've seen all of them.
That show the exact path that her body took?
From the pooling to the tree?
Yes.
You can actually look into photographs, and I believe it's 36, and see the blood trail as it moves around. So it appears to me that it's a direct path from here. Most likely, her head would have been in the vicinity, head and neck would have been in the vicinity of a large pooling. So whomever would have done this would have pulled her, and as a result, the leg, the buttocks,
You also said that several of the flow patterns observed on LG's face were not consistent with her final positioning.
Correct.
Can you tell me what patterns those were?
Well, those patterns are going across her chin, across her face, down her eye that, when you look at her final position, I believe her head is turned to the left, and that would not be consistent with the patterns that we observed on her face. Again, blood is a fluid. Fluids travel in the least resistance. Gravity's a factor here, and so, at some point, her head was potentially turned at some point. Maybe her head was however she was picked up, her head was down. You know, if you pick up a person who is limp, there because of gravity, the head would go back. That would allow these flow patterns to occur.
Major Cicero, I'm going to show you Defendant's Exhibit UUU. Have you seen that photo before?
Yes, it looks very familiar from all the photos that I observed.
Okay. It's probably not the best one to do this, but can you identify the flow pattern on her face that you believe has been altered?
I don't believe anything's been altered.
Okay.
On her face, on her body, those alterations, but the flow patterns aren't consistent with her positioning.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, at some point, Her head was positioned differently with respect to the rest of her body?
Her head would have. To be clear, the head would have had to have been in a different position where the blood would have flowed across the face in that manner. For her head to be like that, and the blood would not flow up her chin and over her face. The face and the neck would have had to have been, at some point, back and turned to create that.
And you're talking about the blood flow on her right cheek?
Primarily her right cheek, but, blood does not defy gravity, so on her chin and whatnot.
Move to admit UUU. Defendant's Exhibit UUU offered.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. Without objection, UUU is admitted. Defendant's Exhibit UUU admitted.
Judge.
And I'll seal it.
Sorry, yeah. Can we make sure that's under seal, though?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Now, upon moving on to AW.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, to be clear, you're getting all of this from photographs?
Yes.
Okay. And you said on the left side of AW's neck you observed what appeared to be coagulated and wet and dried blood?
Yes.
So not all of the blood had dried on the side of her neck?
The side of her neck, mostly in the hoodie sweatshirt area. It's a protected place. It would not dry as quick, especially accumulations.
And the flow patterns on AW face are also not consistent with her final position?
Yes, some of them were not correct.
Now, page 7 of your report, you said there's no conclusion being made AW was nude at some point on or about February 13, 2017. You want to see it? I'm a visual person.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Last sentence.
Right? No conclusions are being made that she was completely nude. She could have been.
Completely nude?
Right? She could have had her pink shirt, GREY brassiere, and black brassiere on at the time. I can't determine that.
But would you agree with me that, at some point, she was partially nude?
Yes.
Okay. You did not video record your experiment?
No.
Sorry.
You're fine, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know what exhibit number? Is that 37?
Yeah, 37, ma'am.
Okay. And, Major Cicero, exhibit 37 is an aerial view of the bodies, is that correct?
Yes. I believe the investigator was on a ladder.
Thanks. And can you estimate, with RESPECT to, let's say, LG, what percentage of her body is covered by sticks?
Maybe. I'm bad at this, ma'am. I'm sorry. Maybe 5%, 3% maybe. I don't know.
Maybe 3?
Maybe 3.
Not much?
Not much, no.
Okay. And with respect to AW, same question, what percentage of her body?
Very small.
Okay.
Very small percentage.
And would you agree with me, sir, that there are lots of leaves?
Yes.
In the area?
Yes.
All right. And there are other sticks in the area?
There are.
Okay. And if I want to cover a body, do you agree with me it would be much better to use the leaves and the sticks than sticks that cover maybe 3% of their body?
I don't disagree.
Major Cicero, would you agree with me, based on viewing the pictures and the crime scene, viewing these girls' injuries, it would be safe to say there was a lot of chaos out there?
I would agree with that.
And it would be given that it would be impossible to actually recreate what happened?
Given the data, yes.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Luttrell.
Have you seen sticks on bodies at murder scenes before?
Yes.
More than once?
Yes.
And have you seen sticks used as a sort of a grid or a pattern for putting other objects on?
Yes.
Bodies? Would you explain what you've seen?
However the person who did it would have, cover the person, they would put on the sides, sticks across the center and diagonal, almost building a bridge for other sticks. The idea of concealment is to break up the pattern And I've seen that before where they use sticks and leaves to cover up the body.
Without fully covering up the body.
Yeah, to try to fully cover up the body, and it never... Obviously, the bodies were found. They didn't do a good job.
Nothing further.
Ms. Auger.
Have you seen bodies that were buried?
Yes. I work at the University of Tennessee in training. I bury bodies all the time and dig them up. It's part of the training. It's the entomology and forensic anthropology.
And the other bodies that you have seen that had sticks and leaves, were they more covered or more concealed than the bodies of LG and AW?
The ones that, in my real-life cases, yes, they had more sticks on them. Why there are not more sticks on this, I don't know.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Major. You may step down.
Thank you, ma'am.